we'll just roll together. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. I invite you to join with me now in a spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of endless change and renewal, may we throw open our hearts and our doors to your presence as we bravely walk into this new space and this new future for our community. May we grow and thrive, and even more, may we make lasting change full of love in this community and in all of the Metro East. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to remain seated and join in our hymn number 142, Let There Be Light. It is a tradition here at our church to place each service within the larger sources and principles that we as Unitarians hold dear. We are a religion that has no requirement of creed or belief, but we do have things that we have come together to support overall. And the service today is a celebration of the ways that these sources and principles have sustained us from the myriad of changes we have gone through since the very first guy came into Alton in 1831 with this radical, bizarre, heretical faith called Unitarianism. We're still pretty radical and heretical, let's be honest. Hasn't changed. You know, we use these principles as guides for how we live our life together, but they are also things that have grown and changed over time. One of the wonderful things we got to do when we were preparing for the move was to go through and to look at some of the old sermons. And as a minister who comes from originally the Christian tradition and the Jewish tradition and the Unitarian tradition, to see the ways that Unitarians grew from a very devout Christian denomination into this beautiful, multi-faith, multi-interpretation denomination that we have today was just a wonderful thing to see and behold. One of the things that we talk about frequently that I would say is an unspoken principle is that we call our faith the living tradition, because it is constantly seeking new ways to express the truths of love, justice, equality, and hope that we hold dear. Just as our forebears followed migration west, preaching inclusion and hope, sometimes better, sometimes not so, but so too are we changing to meet the times. Still with the same message of love and welcome that serves as our core, but now our net is even wider and our hearts and doors and minds are open even farther. All of our principles serve as encouragement for us to come together and work hard for a better world. We do this for ourselves because we deserve a place where we are loved and nourished and cared for, and also for our children and the children of others, because they too deserve a world that is worth living in. They deserve a world that is not just dumped on them with all of our mistakes, but a world that is changed for the better because we as adults have worked hard to make it so. Today, I'm going to lift up the core idea that ours is an ongoing revelation. We do not teach that what was revealed in the past is the only time that the sacred was made manifest. Far too many religions have this idea that God or goddess has spoken once and then it is all done. We believe that that once may have happened, but that it continues to be revealed throughout time and space, how love is expressing itself in our reality. Every scientific direct discovery, every child's laugh, every helping hand that we offer to one another or to our community is a chance to reveal the sacred right here, right now, if we are only paying attention. This is both our hope and our assurance. Amen. As part of our weekly worship service, we're going to take time to express our joys and our concerns and our sorrows. As we learn this new routine and this new place, we're going to change things up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to do this a little bit different today. We're going to go by rows. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite the people in the back to come forward first. And so when you see the last of those folks start to go back, the next row can come forward, and so on, so that folks can just come up and put their stone in the water and then return without tripping over everybody in the aisles. So we're going to give that a try this morning. And we invite you to just come forward and place a stone or stones that represent whatever it is that's in your heart today that you need to express. If you're physically not able to stand and come forward, just tap a neighbor on the shoulder or raise your hand, and somebody will put some stones in there for you, because as a community, we bear each other's burdens and we help one another out in the tough times of our life. We ask now to take a moment for meditation. Our children are both the future of our world, and they are also our here and now. So this week, can I take this out without upsetting the world? If it gets weird, we'll just turn it off. Okay, so I invite all the kids to come forward right now because we are going to talk about my third favorite holiday in Judaism, which is Hanukkah. I'm going to move these empty offering baskets for me. You can just sprawl right there because we're going to pass these around and we're going to have a good old time. So, do any of you all know what Hanukkah is? Yeah, what's Hanukkah? Yeah. Do you know what Hanukkah is? What is it? Well, let me explain. For those of you that don't know, and you're going to hear a lot more about this in the sermon, but Hanukkah is a Jewish festival, and it is the only holiday that Jews celebrate that is not in the Bible. What happened is a very long time ago, a really bad guy, this is how most Jewish holidays start, okay? A long time ago, a really bad guy wanted to kill all the Jews. That's pretty much every Jewish holiday. Okay, so a long time ago, a really bad guy wanted to kill all the Jews. And the Jews decided they were done. So my mic turned off, so I'm just going to put it back up here. Maybe? Nope, it's still working. Okay, it sounded like it turned off. Anyway, so the really bad guy was doing really bad things, and one of the things he did was he tore up the temple. So the place that Jews went to say yay and hooray and thank you and to have community events and to have coffee hour and to light chalices and to do all the good stuff got all dirty and yucky and gross. They had pigs going poop in there. It was really yucky. So yucky. So the Jews got together, and we're not like big fighty people. We don't usually fight. That's not really our shtick. Hasn't been historically. But we fought this time, and we won. We actually won. So that's why this holiday, even though it's not in the Bible, is a holiday they could celebrate. But people weren't really happy about the fact that it was about war, because Jews don't really like to fight. So one of the other things that they talked about is the fact that when they cleaned up the temple, they did something really cool. When they cleaned up the temple, they found that the special oil, just like we have oil in our chalice over there, the special oil that they used for the temple didn't just last one night, it lasted for 8 days while they cleaned the whole temple up. So that's why we have the holiday. This is called a Hanukkah. Everybody calls it a menorah, but it's not. You've learned your fact for the day, folks. A menorah has 3 on each side and 1 in the middle. It's got 7. Whereas a Hanukkah has 4 on each side and 1 in the middle. So, really trivial things. Don't, impress your friends at trivia night, but that's the big thing. But the important thing about this is that it brings light. So let me explain how this works. So you put the candles in this way, and then you light them this way. But you never light the candle with another candle. So you don't light this day's candle with this day's candle. So this is a very special candle called the shamash, which means helper. It is the big helper candle. And the thing I want you all to think about today is that we get to be the shamash. We get to be the helper that helps other people when they're down and sad and upset and having a bad day, or when they're angry, or when they're crying. We can be their shamash and bring some light into their world. So see, first night, second night, third night, fourth night, fifth night, until all of the nights are lit. Now, this one happens to be our current home favorite. If you don't have a menorah mousse at your home, what are you missing, people? So I brought these because they're electric, but just when you remember about Hanukkah, the thing I want you all to remember is that you get to be the most important thing, because you can't have Hanukkah without the helper candle, without the shamash. Without the shamash to light all the others, you don't get to have the holiday of Hanukkah, okay? So let's go out this morning and let's look for ways to be a shamash, to be a helper to others, and to bring others a little bit more light and a little bit more happiness. Can you do that for me today? All right, go have a wonderful day. Let's sing our kids out to service. next hymn is number 221. Does it sound wrong? Okay. I'm just not hearing myself, but really I can hear myself just fine. So you can hear me no matter what. Let's be honest, I'm really loud. This is what happens when you teach teenagers for 15 years. You learn to talk over everybody. Okay, our next hymn is number 221, Light One Candle. Well, good morning again, and welcome as we come together. I'm rolling up my sleeve, folks. You know it's going to be one of those sermons, okay? Welcome as we come together to celebrate this space that we call home, and also to ponder together what it means to be light in dark times. Today, we're going to talk about two different holidays, one that just passed and one that's about to happen this week, both of which focus on the short days and the long nights of the year, and the need for human beings to have light with which to see in the darkness, both metaphorical and actual. Now, when I say light and dark throughout this sermon, I am not talking about skin tone or anything like that. I am talking about photons and how they have to reach our optic nerves, because otherwise we have a really hard time operating our lives. Just recently, I've been diagnosed as having a cataract in one of my eyes, and I can tell you that the loss of photons hitting my optic nerve is causing all kinds of things. So I really am feeling this right now. Also, for the vast majority of human existence, even through this day, light means fire, and fire means warmth. And during the winter, the presence or absence of warmth is a literal difference between life and death. The folks in Moscow who have gotten so many feet of snow, and of course their government isn't taking the least bit of care of them, and so many folks who are enduring these conditions right now are dying because they do not have enough firewood to stay warm. So for our ancestors, and even for many of us today, the need to keep fires alive and burning in the cold season of the year is of vast importance, both spiritually and actually. You know, it's really only in the comfort of our modern era that we have divorced those two, the spiritual and the material, For the whole rest of our human existence as a species, we found profound meaning in things that ensured our survival and allowed us to prosper as a whole. There's been no split between sacred and secular, and I think as Unitarians, one of the best teachings we can get is from our earth-based traditions that tell us there still isn't a split. Every breath we take is a sacred gift. It is a holy moment that we can celebrate or squander, depending on our mindset and our attunement to the wonder of life. Now, I hear some of you saying, but I don't believe in a god or a goddess, and I say to you, this idea that every breath is sacred is just as important for an atheist or a humanist, because there is no requirement to believe in a god to experience the wonder of our children laughing at one another and throwing leaves in the backyard here. All that is required of you is a willingness to be open to seeing that moment as incredible, as special, as, may I say it, sacred. So for many pagan traditions, the holiday of winter solstice or Yule is a deliberate time to look at the shortest day of the year in the north and to see for ourselves how our bodies and minds respond to the lack of light, to the distance our planet has from the sun, to the way that the axial tilt has created the chill in the ground, although unfortunately our own human actions are making that chill not what it should be. But also, the hibernation of creatures, the scarcity of food. I went to a friend's house yesterday, and the amount of giant fat squirrels grabbing as many acorns as they could stuff in their little faces, they know that it's winter. They know that it's the season to hoard and to store and to worry. And to think about these observations, to find within them something that can fuel our spirituality for another year of living, even when life is difficult. There is a hymn in our hymnal, In the Bleak Midwinter, and it references that idea that salvation comes from the lowest places. The Christmas story talks about how the Savior of the world was born in a dirty, nasty barn. If any of you are farmers, like I am, barns are not places I want a baby to be in, ever. Ever. For many in recovery, they will tell you that you have to hit rock bottom. You have to be at your absolute lowest place before you're ready to make the changes you need to make to find your sobriety. I think for our church, we were there. We were at our lowest ebb. We were having the smallest attendance we had had in decades. The building was literally collapsing around our ears. Our finances were dire. Our dear financial advisor every month would come to the board meetings and tell us how many more months we could possibly survive if we trimmed this and cut that. There was, I will be frank, a discussion about whether it would just be better to close up and move on and do something else. To give up on this almost 200 years of life in this congregation. I call that pretty rock bottom, a pretty bleak season for us as a community. But yet, if you have come in this building today, you have seen the difference, the vitality and the life that has come from one fundamental change. Going into this unknown place is scary and hard and sad and stressful, so stressful that I do not think I can do it justice from the pulpit here. But yet there is light. There is light. One of the traditions that many pagan peoples have at Yule is to completely extinguish the hearth fire and then start it again from scratch or from the smallest ember of the old year's fire. I don't know if any of you were in Scouts or 4-H and actually started a fire in this manner where you take 2 sticks and you rub them together. Flint and tinder, tiny wood shavings, and these twists of bark that sputter and smolder, and they seem to catch and then go out and then catch and then go out. And you're absolutely convinced it is never going to work. And the whole time you're getting colder and colder, and you're getting like blisters on your hands and little splinters from the bark, and you're positive you're never going to feel your hands again. And then suddenly, as though it has a mind of its own, the fire catches. And this little flame, and it's so awesome, but you have to be so careful because anything could put it out. And so you feed it very gently and very delicately, and then all of a sudden, you have this beautiful crackling fire, and you can finally warm up. It is so easy in the cold and the dark, to fall to despair, to get frustrated because all your efforts to get ahead, to just stay where you are, to just exist and be and get out of bed in the morning seem like too much. Yule reminds us that it will happen. The fire will catch. Warmth and light and hope and progress will come again. The wheel of the year, when you are in the darkest place, it will turn, and you will once again come to a better time. So for those of you who are walking into the holidays this year, finding it hard, you're in tough places, you're wrestling, you're grieving, you're weighed down by family troubles, by health issues, by money troubles, by all the things going on in our world, Yule reminds you that you can find the spark again. May you meet someone this week, here during coffee hour, You got to look for the spark. You got to work for the spark. But the spark will be there. Somebody or someone who by word or deed will give you that little bit of friction, that extra little spark that can keep you going until the fire catches again. The shortest day and the longest night are real. They cannot just be glossed over. You cannot just ignore them. You can pretend all you want by turning on lights, but most of us with seasonal disorders can tell you, we know. I can have every UV lamp in the world on in my house, and I'm still telling you that the sun is not there, and I'm feeling it, right? I can pretend, but it's not the same. It's real, and it's there, so I don't want you to feel like I'm making light of your emotions or your pain or your struggle. I'm not. But what I want you to know is in the darkest, deepest times, there is the hope that something new will come because the wheel always turns. That is a great gift that the earth-based traditions give to us, is to remind us that the wheel will turn. That is the promise and the hope of Yule. Now, for those of you who are not in a dark place this holiday season, your job is to be that spark. Your job is to be the spark of joy, of love, and warmth, of possibility, of hope that gets people through another day. When you're stuck in another long line at the store, thank the cashier for showing up today. Please don't yell at them. It's not their fault. Whatever it is, really, it's not their fault. They don't program the computers. They don't make the things not happen. They don't restock the shelves. Just don't yell at them. They didn't do it. Ask about their day. Really listen to them. Find something to compliment about the mall workers' display. Those folks work really hard on those displays that people then yell at them because they didn't have XYZ thing that they wanted. Tell the gas station attendant that you hope they have a good day today, and mean it. Have you ever seen those poor people? We have Quick Trips. I haven't seen a lot of them over here, but in Missouri, there's 2 Quick Trips on every corner. And those poor people, they're working literally 2 to 4 registers each, right? They're having the worst days imaginable, lines 10 miles long. And everybody just yells at them because they don't have this or they don't have that or they're not moving fast enough. So when somebody says, hey, thank you, I hope you have a nice day, it can be the little things that get you through the day. I know for a fact, because I have worked in food service and I have worked in retail, the bigger the holiday, the worse the people. The season of love and joy and peace just outright makes people mean. So if you have capacity, go out of your way to be nice to somebody this week. At the doctor's office, ask what holidays they celebrate. I love it when somebody says, hey, Merry Christmas, or whatever you celebrate. Or when somebody says, oh, I see on your paperwork it says you're Jewish, Hanukkah, right? It's that little bit of something where I also am fine if somebody says Merry Christmas, because, hey, at least you said something nice instead of get out of my way, right? But the point is it's nice when you can make a little effort and be a little spark to somebody. Show up here next week. One of the reasons we're going caroling at our nursing homes is we've got 3 members who are shut in. They can't get out. They can't come here and do the things that they used to do. So what are we going to do? We're going to take a little bit of Christmas to them. I've had people tell me, oh, but I can't sing. I don't care. It does not matter. It really doesn't. What matters is that you're going to fellowship with your friends. You're going to go see some folks you haven't seen in a while. And even if you don't know these people, you're going to bring so much joy. Every time I've been to a nursing home on the Christmas holidays, the number of people that are there that are alone is absolutely heartbreaking. We may very well be the only people that go to some of these rooms all year. So if you possibly can, and if you don't have the capacity, I'm not shaming you, it's okay. But for those folks that have enough that you can give a little back, next week, we're going to have brunch, we're going to have service, we're brunch, go out, do some caroling. It'll be a great day. It'll be a way to give back, to be that Yule spark for someone else. And I got to tell you, it's not the earth-changing things that make or break most people. One of the things that they say in AA is that you don't drink over something big. You drink because your shoelace broke. And what they mean by that is that usually when the big things come, if you've been working the program and doing the things, you're pretty good at handling the big stuff, but it gets under your skin a little bit, and then the next big thing gets under a little more, and then a little more, and then finally something little and insignificant happens, and it's just, what do they say, the straw that broke the camel's back, right? It's that one thing too many, and everything falls apart. Well, it's the same way in reverse, right? People may be going through horrific things in their lives, and they'll remember the one person that complimented their sweater, or the one person that held the door for them one day, or the one person who showed up and sang, even if it was out of tune, because they hadn't seen anybody in 4 months. And it was the first time somebody had knocked on their door and said, "Hi, how are you?" So I invite you, if you need the fire, look for it. Look around in this room. These people here can be that for you. That is the point of church. That is the point of community, is that we are the fires for each other when we can't be it for ourselves. But if you have extra to give, crank your fire up. Be that fire for somebody who needs it. That is what Yule teaches us. We have the fire of hope, and we offer it to others, because that is who we are. And let me tell you that the need for positive interactions cannot be overstated right now, because your Jewish minister is shocked and appalled at the intensity of the Jew hatred, known as anti-Semitism, that is going on in the world today. Just this week, the United Nations voted almost unanimously to condemn Israel for its actions, but refused to mention Hamas and its terrorism. Now, folks, I want to start this half of the sermon by saying I hate defending Israel, okay? Way too often when I look at Israel, I do not see my Jewishness, my people, my way of being a Jew reflected at all in Israel, okay? Any more than between, 2016 and 2020, I saw my politics and my America and my way of being reflected in Washington, D.C., right? You with me? Okay. But since October 7th, I have been defending Israel almost nonstop, even from other UUs. And folks, I am scared. I am tired, and I am worn thin. And I'm going to talk about Hanukkah as the other half of this sermon today. And I have spent literally weeks trying to make it a happy little sermon about, like I did for the kids, about the shamash and this and that, and I can't do this. So I'm going to lay it out here, and I'm going to tell it to you as straight as I know how. And you can disagree with me, and that's fine. That's part of who we are as UUs. But I want you to understand what it means to be a Jew when people are dressing like Hamas in our universities and walking down the street and saying, "Hitler was right, you all gotta go." In my own country, in my own city. I have a 4-year-old. I know other people with little kids, and we're walking around asking ourselves, one of the traditions of Hanukkah is we put our menorahs in the window so that other Jews know that they're not alone. And the discussion this year is, dare we? Will we survive if we do? That's not something most people have to ask themselves in this country. So what I'm going to talk about for the next 15 minutes or so, hopefully less, if you got to walk, I understand. There's a door right there. I'm not going to blame you. I'm not going to shame you. But I want you to understand this is complicated, okay? The Israel and Palestine situation is not going to fit in a tweet or an X or whatever the flip they're calling it this week. It's too complicated. This is 4,000 years of history. You cannot understand it in 10 minutes. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to give you a very basic overview of what's affecting me and my family right now and the family of the people I love. And I'm going to ask for your help in being that light for myself and for the Palestinians, because my God, Palestinian students are being shot on campus just because they're Arabs. Like, what the hell, people? We don't kill people just for being people. That is not okay. Okay, so let's start with this. First and foremost, the Palestinian people deserve to live. Why this is up for debate in anyone's mind, I do not understand. They deserve a state that is not run by fanatical terrorists. Hamas is crazy. If you don't understand how crazy these people are, they have literally said, we do not care if every Palestinian dies as long as we get to kill more Jews. Okay? The leaders of Hamas are sitting in Qatar smoking their cigars, living as billionaires, while all the Palestinian kids that they have taken and brainwashed are being fed to this machine of hate and violence. They are horrible, horrible people. Palestine does not deserve that. They do not deserve to be recruited and brainwashed into hate. They do not deserve to worry about where they're going to lay their head at night. They do not deserve to not have food. They deserve to raise their children, to worship, to not fear being murdered or harmed just for existing. But so, my friends, do the Jews. What people are doing around the world, and it's making me absolutely sick, is they are blaming Israel for the deaths of Palestinians, but they are not willing to talk about Hamas. If Hamas had not attacked innocents, if Hamas had not raped and murdered and kidnapped, they chopped the heads of babies, people. There is nobody that can claim that is in the Quran, because it is not. The Prophet of Islam never said to harm children. Never, never, never. What they are doing is not Islam. What they are doing is psychopathic and crazy. Not like, oh, crazy like I'm crazy and I get meds and it's okay, but like seriously psychopathic. They are beyond my ability to help. And I think we need to acknowledge that, and we need to separate that from the Palestinian people, right? The average Palestinian person just wants to raise their kids and go to work and have a job and be able to put food on the table and not be shot. That's really what they want. They want to live like most people do. Do you know that not a day has gone by since October 7th that Israel hasn't had somebody shooting rockets at their towns? Not at the IDF. They don't go after the IDF that can actually fight back. They go after the little kibbutzim and the little towns and little, folks who have no defenses, because that's what terrorists do. They're the bad guys. And I don't say that. I don't make black and white distinctions really lightly. I really don't, okay? But anybody that can kill a baby in that kind of gruesome way, I'm going to say that. As your minister, I'm going to say this is where I draw a line, and I say that is black and this is white. Like, this is bad and this is good. I cannot and will not ever countenance what Hamas is doing, especially not because their leaders are cowards who are hiding in another country and aren't actually a part of what's going on. They're taking the children that they've recruited and brainwashed and sending them out instead. I'm not a pacifist, and it really drives me crazy. And I'm not going to say you have to be somebody who would use force. You're welcome to be a pacifist. Please hear me. I am not trying to push my beliefs on others. But who is to blame here? Is it Israel who is using force, or the terrorists who are hiding under hospitals and using babies as shields? Which one is more to blame? I will tell you that if someone kidnapped my husband and my child, I would stop at nothing to get them back. There is no one and nothing that could keep me from doing whatever it took to get my child back. But here's the thing. What if the bad guy was hiding behind a bunch of children? What if the bad guy was going to keep killing children unless they got killed first? What if the only way to stop the bad guy was to kill children so that the bad guy wouldn't kill even more children? That is the situation in Israel right now. And I don't have an answer for this, folks, because the Palestinian children do not deserve to die. But neither do the Israeli children. So yes, I absolutely see the images out of Gaza and my heart breaks. But I see what's being done in the kibbutzim, which most people are not seeing, and my heart breaks. Israel is in an impossible situation right now, and it's not being made better by their fanatical right-wing government that's overboard and doing terrible things, right? I am not defending the Israeli government. Do not like them. They do not represent my Judaism. I want that to be clear. But the problem is, it's not paranoia if everybody really does want you dead. Okay? And here's what's the situation. So in the beginning, Israel offered the Palestinian citizenship. They said no. In the beginning, Israel was okay with a two-state solution. The Palestinian government at the time said no. Both times they said, we will not be content until we have all of it back. Now, a lot of people, especially in the liberal side of things, have decided that this makes Jews colonizers. Another couple of words that I hear a lot are apartheid and genocide. Folks, words matter. So I'm going to break these three words down real quick, okay? First and foremost, Israel is not a colonizer. There has been a continuous Jewish presence in the land of Israel for about 4,000 years. We are indigenous to the land. We are the only indigenous people that have gotten our land back, okay? Now, did it come about in a nice way? No. Was there a way it could have been done better? Very probably. However, it comes on the heels of over 6 million Jews being slaughtered by Europe, specifically Hitler and the Nazis. So we're dealing with kind of a crisis situation and a whole bunch of people who had nowhere else to go because their lands had been stolen from them in all these other countries. Okay? History's messy and it's complicated. Okay. So here's what happens. So they are not colonizers. I really loathe it when people say that because I'm like, Israel, Jews are indigenous. They've been here for a very long time. I don't understand this idea of conflating it with like the English that came over here and took over America, you know? Secondly, let's talk about genocide. Genocide is the intentional destruction of a people or a culture. Israel is a nuclear power. If Israel wanted all the Palestinian people dead, they could be dead. I'm saying this not because I think that's a good idea. I think it's an absolutely horrific thing and should never happen. The Palestinian people deserve to live. But I'm saying it to make a very blunt point, which is the fact that Israel has shown amazing restraint given the number of times they have been under attack by these other countries. Okay, so I do not believe that genocide applies. Also, when people talk about apartheid, they talk about, systems based on race or culture that keep a group of citizens down. Palestinians are not citizens. They rejected citizenship when Israel was formed. Okay? So what this is not apartheid. It's an immigration problem. Now, should Israel let Palestinians in? That's a different discussion, and we can have that discussion at a different date. But the Palestinian people are not under a system of apartheid because that would assume they're citizens. Arab Israelis, which is about 20% of the population of Israel, have all the same rights, regulations, and access to everything that any Jewish citizen does. Okay? They have freedom of religion, they have freedom of the press, they have all the things, they have their own political parties, they have about 15% of the Knesset, which is their parliament. They have at least equal rights as, say, our African American citizens do here. Is Israel perfect? No. Does Israel deserve criticism? Oh, yes. Lots and lots and lots of criticism. But what it doesn't deserve is for people to sit there and say they don't have a right to exist. That's anti-Semitism. Because when you say things, and I've seen this, a letter went out to UU clergy saying, sign on to this anti-Zionist letter because we must get rid of the colonizing state of Israel. River to sea, Palestine will be free. That is a reference to genocide, folks. That is a reference to we're going to kill every Jew between the river and the sea. We're going to kill them all and make the land clear for Palestine. That's not acceptable. It is not acceptable to call for the death of an entire group of people, of any group of people. It is not added to by the fact that you have students blocking roads. Should we have a ceasefire? Should we figure this out? Yes. Can we figure it out when one group wants all the Jews dead? No. Relationships take two. And this is the problem, okay? If on the one side you have somebody who wants peace and wants diplomacy, and on the other side you have a homicidal maniac who wants you dead, one person talks and the other person shoots. How do you think that's going to play out, folks? Israel has tried this again and again and again, and they get to a certain point in the two-state solution, and these attacks happen. Because on one side, you have a homicidal maniac, not Palestine. I'm talking about Hamas and Hezbollah, who are being funded. Now let's take a step back into the world politics scene, okay? World politics are that Iran and Russia are funding these guys. Have you noticed that since Israel became the world's bad guy, nobody's talking about Ukraine anymore? Have you noticed that since Israel's the world's bad guy and nobody's talking about the 1 million Muslims in China that are enslaved? How many of you guys knew that? That China's holding over 1 million Muslims enslaved, and there are serious rumors that they are harvesting organs out of those people. Okay? Yeah, there's some sick stuff going on in China, but is it getting any press whatsoever? No! But when it comes to the Jews, killing a few people, not that it's right, and hear me on this, right? But on a world scale, 1 million Muslims over here being oppressed and slaughtered, and all these other things happening, Russia invading another country and taking over their sovereign territory, Israel responding to a terrorist attack. Well, let's make Israel the bad guy, because then it takes the attention off of China and Russia. I have friends who are in military intelligence, and without being able to tell me a lot about how it works, they're able to tell me that Russia spends an awful lot of time on TikTok and Facebook making these videos and putting out these photos. Somewhere between half and 2/3 of what you see on the internet on these sites is fake. And it's really, really hard. It's so bad that CNN and NBC and NPR and stuff often report those fakes before they find the real things. So folks, it is hard to figure this out because these guys are smart and they work really, really hard at their disinformation. And let's be honest, people have been blaming Jews for all the evils in the world for like 4,000 years, so people are really good at it, okay? The Jews have been the world's bad guy for a long time, so it's really fast to get the world's attention on the Jews and on Israel. And we're separate, right? I have nothing to do with Israel. I'm not an Israeli. I have no citizenship. I have no vote. I have nothing to do with Israel. I couldn't even move to Israel if I wanted to because I'm not Jewish enough for the orthodoxy in Israel. So I'm not defending them because I want to. I don't like the Israeli government. I think Netanyahu is horrible. But I am defending the Jewish people because they do not deserve the level of anti-Semitism that is being leveled at them. When you see kids on college campuses, as I said, dressing as Hamas and saying, they're right, the Jews have to go. What kind of a world are we living in when our college professors and our college presidents are like, well, they're talking about genocide, but it's Jews, so maybe it's okay? If there was somebody outside right now screaming and chanting, all you Jews must die, I would be calling the police. I would not be saying, well, it's free speech, we should let them have their moment. I'm going to be honest, that's an immediate threat. Assault is not just physically hitting people. Assault is threatening in a manner that could lead to imminent violence. And if anybody has seen mob violence, which I have, you know how quickly a group of people yelling and chanting can turn into that. Okay? So folks, this is hard. I don't know how to fix this. Because what I want is I want to sit both sides down, and I want to say, you, Netanyahu, you and your whole group of crazy religious fundamentalists, just stop. Be decent human beings, provide for your people, and open your doors and quit being jerks. And I want to go over to Hamas and I want to go, stop, sit down, quit being psychopathic, murdering things I won't say in church, and let go of those kids and let those Palestinian people grow up in peace. And you Muslims and you Jews and you Christians need to learn to work together. But folks, this has been going on for over 2,000 years, so I don't think that anything I say is really going to make that big a difference. So what do we do? What do we do? How can we be the light in this situation? How can we be the light when my colleagues, and I do not think that you clergy are anti-Semites. I do not think that. I think that they're on social media and seeing images that are most likely funded by Russia and Iran. I think that they're on Twitter and they're seeing little tweets about colonizer Israel and they're not understanding the complexity of the history. I think that they're seeing the Palestinians and how Islam in America is feared, and they're identifying with that underclass, as we should be, as you use, and they think that Jews are white and have power. And they don't understand that Jews are neither white nor have power in this country. It's an illusion that gets stripped away very, very quickly in situations like this. Some Jews are white. I'm white. But not all Jews are white, you know? And the reason that that's important is because, to come to church here, what did you have to do this morning? You had to get up, get dressed, get in your car, and try to find the entrance, right? That's what you had to do. I know some of us found it easier than others. For me to go to synagogue on Friday, I have to call the office and physically talk to a human being so that they know I'm real. I have to sign up on the website, and I have to be a paying member of the synagogue so that they know I'm real. They have to match my name. If I go to bring a visitor, the visitor has to have a check before I'm allowed to bring them so that they're not a known anti-Semite or violent towards Jewish people. We have to park in a special area that has a police officer there, and we have to walk past several police officers to get in the building in order to worship. Why? Because swastikas have been painted on several of our synagogues, because the tombstones in our graveyards have been knocked over and painted with horrific images that I will not talk about here, because people have been beaten up in our own community for being Jewish just recently. Because in our own schools, a bunch of Jewish kids were put into a corner of a room, and a bunch of the other kids were doing the Hail Hitler salute in front of them. So no, folks, Jews are not white and privileged. And we need to remember that. Hanukkah is not a pretty story. It's about a bunch of religious fundamentalists who hated everybody else, much like Netanyahu and his crew, who did a bunch of bad things to a bunch of Greeks, much like Netanyahu. And in fact, later Jews hated the story so much that they made up the miracle of the oil whole cloth, because we were like, do we really want like a total fundamentalist jerk guy as our hero? And the rest of the Jews went, no, we really don't. But it's like the one time we won a war. Yeah, but he's a really bad guy. But it's like the one time we won a war. And that went back and forth for like 200 years. And then at the end of it, they decided, you know what? Let's talk about the oil. Let's talk about the miracle of the oil. Because a miracle about the temple and about bringing light into the world is much more palatable, and it's much better, something we can talk to our children about, right, than a guy who is a fundamentalist who kicked out a bunch of other people for not being bad enough. So what I'm asking you to do today, I know it's talked about a lot, right? Here's 4,000 years of history. What I'm asking you to do is to be that light. Just like I asked the kids. If you have a Muslim, an Arab, or a Palestinian friend, reach out to them and say, hey, are you okay? Is your family okay? Is there a charity you want me to give some money to? What can I do to help? If you have a Jewish friend, ask them the same question. Hey, are you okay? What's going on with your kids this week? Do you need somebody to go with you to synagogue? Are you okay? Maybe to have light in this world, it needs a miracle, like the miracle of the oil, made up though it may be. Maybe we need a miracle to thrive day after day in a world so full of violence and pain and horror. But then again, maybe we just need incredibly hard work, like the Yule fires that spark, but only after a long time of fighting. I tend to think that at the end of the day, miracles and incredibly hard work are actually just the same thing. However you kindle your light this week, through word, deed, or feelings, may you add more light to this world, because, it is floundering in darkness. When your fire is low, however it may be low this day, may you find the sparks to rekindle it here among the faces of those who love you and those who want to do good. When your fire is burning bright, may you share it with all who are in need, that all people of all nations, all religions, all times and places may know love, may know hope, and may know peace, both now and forevermore. Amen, and blessed be. Our final hymn this morning is number 118, This Little Light of Mine. as Robin passes around our offering basket, today we have a special announcement. Our offering this morning is going to be entirely dedicated to our incredible duo of Buddy Stricker and Catherine. Thank you, Catherine Bradley. I have your face, I forgot her name. These folks, you may not know them personally. They have done an unbelievable job behind the scenes of everything related to the move, from our finances to finding things to physically doing the spreadsheets to showing up and moving things. I'm missing about 25 things that he's done. We literally could not have done this without them. They just went above and beyond to do it. It was just unbelievable the amount of work that got put in on this and keeping us all on track, because we've had about 65 emails going 45 directions, and they just kept us all going and moving forward. And so we just want to say a great big thank you to them for that. And it's really just been unbelievably amazing, the work that they've put in for that. So we're all very, very grateful to them for that. Yes. Right, as long as you mark your pledge. I'm sorry, yes, this is loose or whatever. Anything not related to pledge. So if you have a pledge, make sure you write pledge on. And yeah, we're excited. So I've got a bunch of announcements that I'll get to as soon as we do our offertory prayer this morning, which I invite you to join with me. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice. All right, so I have a bunch of announcements. And then, all right, I can start. Sounds good. So, well, I think some of ours may overlap. So, perfect. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who has done all the things. I will forget if I try to thank you individually, but everybody has helped us in so many ways to get the move going. We're thrilled, but we still need more help. So there will be sign-up sheets for next week's Christmas brunch. There will be a sign-up sheet going out, probably email-wise, for signing up to help us with like the front desk or to take care of snacks one week, stuff like that. It's a very simple way and you don't have to sign up forever and ever, just for one Sunday. So that's a great way to do things, and we appreciate that. And then also I'm going to be putting together a sewing circle for probably after our open house at this point. And we're just everybody come here one Sunday, bring your sewing machines, and we're just gonna sit in the other room and put together cushions for the chairs. For those of us on the metal chairs, you know that is not a thing you want to do very long. So I'll buy the memory foam. A friend of mine's contributing the fabric, and so all you'll need to do is show up with your sewing machines. And if you have a sewing machine, great. If you don't, you can help cut and do other things. So we'll have lots of things to do. It'll be a fun time. You don't even need to know how to do anything. We'll figure it out together. It'll be great. So those are my announcements.
First of all, I wanted to just take a minute to reflect on something that Claudia's, obviously the things that Claudia had to say in the sermon. And thank you, Claudia, because I was bereft this week. I just gotten off of a very long conversation with a friend of mine that lives in Israel. I have family that lives in Israel. I have friends who live in Israel. I have walked the grounds of Israel. I have stood on top of Masada. I have swum in the Dead Sea. Yes, you can actually float and swim in the Dead Sea. And I also have broken bread with some of the most preeminent Islamic scholars and intellectuals, from all over North Africa and the Middle East, because my mother-in-law, that was her area of specialty, is Islamic literature and Islamic history. So I was feeling torn, and I got on the phone with Claudia, and we talked through this, and what she manifested today is really a reflection of everything that I've been feeling, the tension that I feel between two beautiful people who are being pawns. And I want to thank you for at least taking the time to try to make sense of all that, because it's really hard and it really hurts, and I still feel a lot of anxiety around it, not knowing where to sit with it. I would like to offer, if anybody has any interest in this, I just was thinking about this, if maybe we wanted to get some scholars from SMUE to come and talk, to be here to help us to make some sense of these things, because this was great, but like you said, it barely scratches the surface. So if you're interested, talk to me during the break, and we'll figure out when we could do this sometime, just so we can figure out what that history means and where, how do we tease it apart and how do we make sense of it. And I do want to just follow up with, yes, the cushion making circle, I'm going through my list. the brunch on Christmas Eve and all the sign up. And then the last thing, there's going to be a drag brunch on January 21st to support Alton Pride up in, which is we participated in and will continue to participate in up in Alton. But it'll be here at Club Rain here in Edwardsville, which is a gay club here in town that really needs our support and our love. So if anybody's interested on the 21st after service, we can wander over there and enjoy brunch and some drag and have a good time there. So that's all I can think of. Anybody else have anything that they needed to share about stuff kind of going on? Good news. Thank you, honey.
I invite you to join with me in reciting our prayer as we extinguish our shadows. Light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are keepers of this flame until we meet again. Both Yule and Hanukkah remind us that in the dark and in the cold, there is warmth and light, love and hope, and a place to call home. May each of us find friends and places to have hearth fires with, and may we each be that flame of hope to someone who needs it most this holiday season. May our lights burn bright, may our lights shine for all to see, and may there be peace on earth, both in the lands and in our hearts. Amen, and blessed be.